Divine from Top Shelf DIY, and today I'm going to talk about luxury vinyl plank. And I just installed it for the first time. Proud to report, it turned out pretty good. So I'm going to talk about the process, how I figured out what I needed to order, and how to kind of start this click and lock system, because it is a floating floor. There's a lot of prep work involved, but once you get rolling, it goes pretty fast. I did this project maybe 2 days, and then I had another day or two of like the transition pieces because those kind of weren't going in the way they should. Anyway, so it didn't take me very long, and the room looked significantly better. We had, and I'll show here, some stained carpeting from paintings, a light fixture, and some red clay stains from our dog. It really needed to come up. We also had some dried pet urine from a previous owner on the wall and in the subfloor that I had to address. So needless to say, it smells infinitely better in here. It's lighter, it's brighter, it's just like a happier place where you want to hang out when you're in our house.
So here's the space we're working with. It was 270 square feet of flooring. And once I pulled up all the old carpeting, I went ahead and ordered my new flooring. Doing the little online calculator on Home Depot's website, I knew I needed 17 boxes, which accounted for 10% waste.
Okay, so let's talk about materials for a minute. You're going to need, you can either order it as a kit or you can get them separately. A tapping block and a mallet. Spacers, these are the 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch spacers. This particular brand of flooring is the Life-Proof Boulder Pass Hickory luxury vinyl plank, and it needed 1/4 inch spacing. You're going to need your actual flooring, a tracing pad, and I'll explain more on that in a minute, and transition strips. Now this comes in a 3-part set, and the instructions say to glue the bottom piece down, which is this white part, glue it, and then add this, glue it, and then put the top on, click it into place depending on how you need it, as either a carpet reducer or same level floor to floor. I had to screw the base plate in because liquid nails was not cutting it. So just a side note on that. That was the issue I had there. You're going to need a level to make sure your floor is level before you begin, and a measuring tape. I use a digital measuring tape because it's super accurate, and I can do it by myself. I don't need an extra set of hands. So that's what you need as far as materials. As far as tools, you can cut these with a miter saw. You can use a jigsaw to cut around vents and various obstacles in the floor. And you can use either a circular saw or a table saw for ripping the boards down. Okay? Let's go on to the next part of that, which is planning out, mapping out how you're going to lay your boards. You're going to probably want to go either horizontally or vertically. I wanted to go horizontally with my install because I wanted the room to look wider rather than taller. And when you're doing that, you have to plan out your planks in such a way that you don't end with a super skinny piece, which usually means you'll rip the first set of boards and you'll rip the last set of boards to kind of even things out. That way you don't end with a super skinny piece. So you will need to get a pretty accurate measurement of the width of your room or the length of your room, depending on which way they're running. My boards were 9 inches wide, and I needed almost exactly 19 boards. I actually mapped it out with the boards just to make sure, and sure enough, there was going to be a little gap there. So what I did was I installed 20 planks, and the first one was ripped to 6.5, and the last board was ripped to around 5 inches. Also take into consideration that 1/4 inch expansion gap on either end when you're factoring in how many boards you're going to need to go the full length or width of your room. So once I had that all planned out, I knew how things were going to go. I cut my first row in the back left hand corner, and you're going to want to work from left to right and keep installing as you go down in the room. But you don't want to work from top to bottom, you want to go from left to right, one row at a time. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how you're going to start that. and a little bit more on preparation because there's a lot of preparation that goes into this. Okay, so make sure your floor is level. When you pull up all that old flooring, whether it be carpeting, other hardwood, etc., you're going to want to have a big level, like a 6-foot level, and measure the floor and make sure there's no big divots or hills in your flooring because this needs to be really level for this installation. I didn't have to address it because my floor was level, thank God, so I didn't have to do any self-leveling compound or concrete patching. Then once you've done that, you need to rip up all your baseboards and all your toe kicks because you're going to want to get your plank underneath all of those things. You're also going to want to remove any door jambs with like a multi-tool so that you can get your plank underneath your door jambs as well. So there's a lot of prep work in advance, but it's worth it. Once all that's done, your floor is level. Oh, you're going to want to make sure your flooring has been acclimated to your house for at least 2 days. Next, you're going to want to map out where you're going to need your transitions and make sure you've got your gap accounted for there. I forgot to mention, open a couple of boxes at one time. That way you can mix and match your patterns. There's a lot of repeating patterns in one box and you want to make sure there's kind of a good mix there so it looks very natural. And then you're going to make sure you stagger your seams with you don't want any really super small piece, but you want to stagger your seams so that it's all different sizes and shapes at different seams and different points. So let me show you exactly how to get started, how the pieces go together, and we should be on our way. Okay, so this was the corner I started in. This was the upper left-hand corner of the room. And you could see I ripped this. I ripped this to, I think about 6 inches, 6-ish inches. Some of it is underneath the baseboard, which is why it looks a little bit more than 6 inches. Okay, so once I had that piece ripped and ready to go, I'm just this is post install, so I'll do my best to demonstrate. I took my first board, and you're gonna wanna have this groove down and on the right, and then the tongue side on the top and to the left. And it says in the instructions to rip this tongue off. It's not really necessary. I left them on, and it didn't seem to hurt. I cut some of them, and then I was like, why am I doing this? This is silly. You can leave it. So you're gonna set that down. You're gonna make sure you've got your spacers on, and just pretend the baseboard is off. And you're gonna wanna position it as level as you can because walls are typically not perfectly level. Get it as level as you can. So now you can see, groove side down and to the right. You're gonna take your next piece here's the tongue. You're literally just going to click it right into the groove. And it snaps into place pretty easily, okay? Once you get that full row done, I'll show you how the next row goes in. So when you're ready to start your next row, just pretend this whole first row is done. You want your next row the same way. You want the groove on the bottom and to the right. You want your spacers in place. You're going to insert this almost. Now this is going to have a little play in it because I didn't put a spacer block right there. So let's do that. There. See, you heard the click, didn't you? All right, so you see how it's it's not flat. It's kind of sitting there at an angle. Well, once you tap this locking system into place, you will feel it go flush with the floor. It's actually pretty cool. So you take your little tapping block, and it has these ridges on it, and you stick it in there. Now, let's see. If I put my knee here, it should stay better. And you're just gonna tap it in. And there you go. It just locked right in. And you can take it kind of right there, like you can have it right flush with the floor when you do that. Now, very important. You don't want to ever hit this flooring directly with the mallet. It will dent it, it will break it. You don't ever want to, except very lightly. Do it very lightly. You don't ever want to tap that with the mallet because it will crush your flooring. Another thing I forgot to mention is that in your kit you will have this pry bar. Trying to film myself and the floor at the same time. This pry bar, which will help when you want to tap something in and it's right next to the wall and you can't get in there. So this helps a lot when you're working around your edges. I just kind of take it and usually it just taps right into place. So here's what the flooring should look like when it's tapped into place. There shouldn't be any holes. If you have any creaks in your flooring and you have wood subfloor like I did, you may need to add an extra screw. I laid down some flooring over the top of a squeaky subfloor and it was driving me nuts. So I pulled it all back up and it took one screw and the problem was fixed. The next thing I was going to point out was, remember the tracing paper. What you can do is actually, say you have a vent. Tracing paper, which is very transparent. You trace the item itself and then you add the expansion gap around the edge and you put that directly on your plank so that when you cut it, you're cutting it to the exact template that you need. So that's how you install luxury vinyl plank. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If so, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe for more videos, and I will see you in the next one.